Hi, this is Shauna, the CEO and founder of Fuel Talent. In January 2019, we launched the What Fuels You podcast, and since that time, I have had the honor of featuring and highlighting leaders and their incredible stories. Though I'm eager to continue sharing these stories with you, I want to make space for different and relevant content for this unique and challenging time. While we all navigate the COVID-19 pandemic together, on this podcast and the upcoming ones, I'll be having more focused conversations with leaders to help answer questions, get key insights, and share stories of inspiration around how they and their teams are adapting during this new reality. I hope you enjoy these episodes of the What Fuels You podcast. Today's guest on the What Fuels You podcast is Angela Dunleavy-Stowell. Angela was the co-founder and CEO of Ethan Stowell Restaurants for 11 years, helping open 16 of Seattle's best restaurants. In 2018, she decided to take her restaurant experience and expertise and her passion for helping those in need over to FareStart, where she serves as their CEO. The nonprofit that disrupts poverty through food and job training is currently focused on bringing together partners from across the Seattle area to prepare and distribute emergency meals to vulnerable groups impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you so much, Angela, and welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to see you.
It's so great to be here. It's such a great break in my day to be able to come.
I know everyone that asks, like, how are you doing? I'm like, it's hour by hour. So this is a good hour. I get to see you and I get to harass you with some rapid fire. Are you ready?
Yes. Oh gosh, we're starting with rapid fire.
Old school. Wake up. I hope you've had your coffee.
All right.
Okay. What are the 3 words people most often use to describe you?
I think tenacious, probably a little controlling. My kids would say that. And very giving, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say generous. Like, I don't know you that well, but the little that we've known each other, I'm like, this is a generous spirit. You can just feel that. Which chef, if you could have any, national, international, would you want to have come and cook for you at FareStart?
Oh, that's a really great question. So I am a huge fan of Chef Kwame. I never get his last name right, so I'm not even going to say it. But Kwame, he wrote this wonderful book, Notes from a Young Black Chef, has a great restaurant in DC, and I had a chance to sit on a panel with him a couple of months ago, and he's really just so inspiring, and love to have him come.
Well, maybe we'll get this into his hands and maybe we can get into
I know.
Given that we're talking about food and that you're around it all day, every day, I'm curious if you follow any sort of special diet or guidelines as it relates to food.
Oh, well, I mean, these days I'm just trying to step 1, make sure you eat it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in the food for fuel moment in my life. So today I've had a granola bar and a piece of toast and an apple. But no, having been around food for my entire career, the COVID-19 has got nothing on me. I was a restaurateur for years. I did my freshman 15 years ago. So no, I just try to eat healthy, though I have gone to a lot more plant-based eating.
I follow this vegan Instagram account and they're like, okay, is everybody not getting the message? And they talk about all the swine flu, the bird flu, and I'm like, I'm kind of grossing out. But every time I think about going vegan and then somebody puts chicken or steak in front of me, I'm like, oh wait, no, I do love animal protein. But I agree.
Moderation.
Feel better. In moderation is kind of what I'm
moderation.
Yeah. Okay. So given that you've been a triathlete, are you bike, swim, or run? Which one's your favorite?
Run.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh man, this is terrible. I don't watch movies.
Well, that's why you're so productive. You're one of those.
I know.
Come on. What about Old School? Can we 16
movie.
Candles?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay, fine. Favorite book. We can switch it up. Do you read?
Yes.
Okay. What's your favorite book?
So I would say my all-time favorite book that I could read on repeat is any book by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I love, which Love in the Time of Cholera just seems, a little appropriate now.
Yeah.
I love a local author. Her name is Kristen Hanna. She's from, I think, Gig Harbor, one of the peninsula, and she just writes such amazing books. She wrote Mockingbird. It was like I like a lot of like World War II, like historical fiction. So that's one of my favorites.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like lame. I love that you're naming these like sophisticated authors and books. Okay, so you have to have one. You have to tell me, what is your guilty pleasure? I'm getting it's not food and it's not movies.
Oh gosh, no. I definitely have some like guilty pleasure food. Like I was eating Nutella directly out of the jar last night by the spoonful. So
that's so funny. My kids laugh because I get them the whipped cream to put on like berries, and every now and then they catch me and I'm like doing it out of the out of the canister right into my mouth. I'm like, whoops, sorry.
A new guilty pleasure that I've discovered through this whole thing, because you can get them shipped with these pretzels called Dots pretzels. And they are from like North Dakota, but they are like a little spicy, a little bit buttery, packed with MSG. They're terrible for you.
Oh, I don't even want to know about those. We have so much junk in our house right now. That's so funny. Well, so I've been asking you to be on the podcast, and we've been trying to schedule for a long time. And with your crazy schedule and mine, it landed on this moment in time during this pandemic. And so we're pivoting what we're talking about. And normally I would get really deep into your background, and I kind of like girl crush on you, as you know. And so I want to talk all day long about you and your upbringing and just kind of what a badass you are. But let's start with, for those who don't know what FareStart is, what is FareStart?
So FareStart's been around for almost 30 years. We're a social enterprise nonprofit that provides job training and wraparound resources for individuals who have been experiencing homelessness or other barriers to employment, addiction, incarceration, mental illness. And we work with both adults and youth. So prior to the COVID-19 crisis, we did a lot of our training in our restaurant at 700 Virginia, our two cafes, one located on the Amazon campus, the other at Pack Tower, and then through a lot of catering. But really at the heart of FareStart was community meals. So we do about 950 meals to the community, low-income childcare centers, homeless shelters, et cetera. And we've been doing that for a long time. So that's how we did our training. And so we've now obviously had to pivot all of that. But FareStart has long been just such a critical resource to the community. So when I took over as CEO, it was really such an honor and real dream job for me.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to know what drew you there. That's my first question.
So I was going through some life changes at the time and looking to kind of find my next chapter in my career and personal life at the same time. And I so happened to, as much of Seattle works, a friend of a friend recommended me to a recruiter. And I had been doing, at ESR, my previous company, had been doing a lot of community engagement work, had been doing a lot of board work and just how our company was interfacing with the community. So I had been on the United Way. I'm still on the United Way board, but had been on for a long time and co-chaired one of their campaigns. So it was really this perfect time where I had this restaurant expertise, which is really what the job training that we do at FareStart. It's all around food and food service. Expertise. And then I also had been doing this community work and raising a lot of money for charity. And so, it really felt like
it's like a perfect collision of everything.
Absolutely. And I felt that, and I think that the board really was just perfect timing.
Yeah. And so what is the vetting process? How do you protect yourself and your staff?
Well, I mean, we serve those who are in need. So we serve people who have made some really bad choices in their lives, and some people who some really bad choices were made and affected them. So, we do draw the lines at, bringing in the high level sex offenders or not accepted into our program. But, we do have people who have done some really terrible things.
And you're giving them a second chance.
Because and that's really what this comes down to for us is we've all had a situation in our lives where we've needed a second chance, and maybe somebody has given us that second chance, or we're lucky enough that we have had somebody grab us by, the shirt before we really went down that road.
Yeah, and guided us for sure.
And so I think for the folks that we work with, particularly those coming out of incarceration, like we really believe that people deserve an opportunity to thrive, and that looks like a second chance for a lot of people. That said, we do have, for our adult programs, we do really emphasize sobriety, the need for sobriety, because for so many people, that's what's going to keep them from being able to maintain a job. So we do require that our adult culinary students be clean and sober. A little bit different for our young people that we work with. We work with youth in a barista program who are experiencing homelessness, and also youth at Seattle Interagency Academy, which is a credit retrieval, what we would probably call an alternative school back when we were younger. And we just need to meet them where they are a little bit more. And so we have it's called a harm reduction model, where we work on, more sobriety.
Giving them the skills.
And people, in our programs have to be stable enough in either their mental health or their recovery to do the job training program.
Right.
So there are some guardrails that get put in.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible. And I know that right now you're on the front lines of this area's COVID-19 response, and you're serving and preparing and distributing emergency meals all over the place. I'm curious to know who you're supporting and how you're going about this.
Yeah, so we to date, so it's April 13th today when this podcast is being filmed. So to date, we've done over 130,000 meals.
Wow.
So we are serving those in places like DESC, which is the Downtown Emergency Services Center, Plymouth Housing, which is a permanent supportive housing organization, the YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs, even Ronald McDonald House. So we're actually serving at, last I checked, 26 locations. So really focused on the most vulnerable in our community. So people who are experiencing homelessness, low-income seniors, medically fragile, and those families whose kids are on free and reduced lunch, getting some meal support to those families.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so what's keeping you up at night right now? I mean, how are you keeping your own staff and yourself safe as far as just like the distancing and being around food, and what are your measures that you're taking?
Well, we put a lot in place, and actually one of the groups that I forgot to mention, the first group that we started working with really in this effort was the King County quarantine site. So we are really working at the front lines and knowing that we're delivering food to locations where there are active COVID outbreaks. And so we have been really diligent about putting in standard operating procedures that really follow very closely the CDC guidelines. We did suspend our training. So our students, when they're going through their training, it's a lot of applied learning. So they're working with us to provide these community meals and our restaurant meals. And so we are still supporting our students, but in their housing and wraparound, but we've had to, pause training, really just bring in staff from around our organization, redeploy them in different ways, and then spread out across. If you were to walk down 7th and Virginia right now and look in our window, it's like packed with boxes and tables and everything getting to get the meals set up and logistics coordinated and out the door. So we've just redeployed every inch of the building that we've needed to, and redeployed staff, and making sure that we are temperature checking everyone every day that they're coming into the building before a shift and in the middle of shift. We have masks, all the PPE that's now being recommended. So everyone's in a mask, and we have eye gear. And so
all of it.
All of it. The good news about restaurants, and for anyone who's out there picking up meals from their favorite restaurant, the good news is we've all been, it's been hammered into our brains our entire careers that, food safety and sanitation. So, this is a sector and an industry, and we're an organization that just has been doing this anyway.
Yeah, it's just baked into it.
It is, yeah.
And so what is the COVID-19 Response and Recovery Fund?
So we have been really fortunate to be able to pivot our organization to be at the forefront of this response, and again, providing meals to the community. And so our response efforts and that fund is really to support that meal production, those meal needs. It's direct food costs, staffing, student and graduate support. So again, we're still, for our students, when they come into our programs, if they don't have housing, that is something that we require. So we provide their housing for them.
Wow.
So we're doing that. We're still doing virtual case management and recovery services. So some of the response fund is funding that. And then we just have, we were just talking about these protocols. There's so much increased cost to keeping everyone safe. And, as we think about pivoting and where does response stop and recovery starts, thinking about all of the costs that, not only organizations like FareStart, but other nonprofits around the region, around the country, and businesses for that matter. There are just so many costs. You don't just flip the switch and things turn back on. It's just, there's a lot that goes into doing all of that. And so it will be, continuing to provide community meals. It'll be, increasing employment support once everyone is able to go back to work, because a lot of our graduates are without jobs right now. And so we know that there's an increased need and support that we're going to have to, provide.
How many people are on the team at FareStart?
Oh gosh, about 260, 270.
And so as you've tried to lead through that, I mean, all of us, there's no manual, there's no playbook for this. Yeah. Have you set corporate culture and your values? And if so, how are those playing out right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really live in our values of openness and accountability and respect. And I think that one of the things that I did early on along with the senior leadership team and our board was make a really firm commitment that, and I remain committed that not one person will be laid off from FareStart during this, because we are such an essential business and an essential organization. So I started to kind of work backward. And it was really that commitment to staff and commitment to our community that I think has helped us pivot. I think that, that open and transparent communication has been really crucial during this time. And I am still going into the office a few days a week and going into the kitchens. And, it's just really having those one-on-one conversations with people and saying, I don't know what happens next, and we're going to get through it together. And being really open, lots of emails going out to staff, lots of communication about what we do know, what we don't know, what we're hearing, what rumors need to be put to bed.
For sure.
True, and so it's just been really needing to be on top of it. And we've also implemented an incident command model where we are meeting every day with a core member of our senior leadership team, and then our broader leadership team every morning. To do updates, just things are changing so quickly. And so what can the community do? What can people like us do to support FareStart? Well, I think, right now, I know that there are so many people who have lost their jobs and the economic uncertainty for so many is a real and troubling thing. I would say for those who have not experienced that and have the capacity to give, philanthropic support right now is really what FareStart and so many other organizations need. And so I think that that's really, what the community can do. And also remember, down the road, 6, 8, 12 months, 2 years from now, that we're still going to be around and our needs are still going to be there, and just keeping us, sort of at the front of mind. And then I also think that it's, what can folks do? I think if you're a business owner and you're in a food service, in the food service sector, when you can turn things back on, thinking about the people in the community who are really marginalized right now, and really are going to have even greater barriers to getting rehired, and taking a chance on people.
Yes. Believing in good, right? Like just putting that good energy out there.
Yeah. And so I think that's right.
I think that's crucial. And so you started to talk about the numbers as far as how many meals you've served to date, but like, where are you on a trajectory as far as your weekly meal count, and where is that relative to what you're used to as a company? Yeah.
Well, to give you a little perspective, just the homeless shelter meal increase has been about 1,400%.
Oh my gosh.
So it's, exponential increase, and we're still, I'm often asked, how long do you think we'll be in this state? And I don't know, if we're using, sports analogies, like, are we in the first quarter of a 4-quarter game?
Right.
I think that we're in this for a little while, and it's so hard to tell. We do have capacity with community partners to do up to 50,000 meals a day.
Yeah.
So we're hovering this week between 10 and 20,000, I believe.
That's amazing.
But the interesting thing is, it's been, I keep saying we're in this hurry up and wait mode, because the needs assessments are really just starting to come in. Now, a couple weeks out from people's last paychecks, and this being a protracted event. And so as time goes on, need is going to become greater and greater. And the strain on the food banks has been really just so tragic to watch, and makes our services even more necessary.
Yeah, it's super scary. We got involved and we've been helping with All in Seattle as a company.
Thank you.
No, of course. We had Jill Singh and Heather Redmond on the podcast last week talking about that. And
they've been hugely supportive.
Just want to highlight as much as we can. My friend Alyssa, who has Gourmando Catering, has been just kind of grassroots giving to youth cares. And last week, a group of us women business owners just like got together and like, well, I'll feed, 1 meal, 2 meals, 3 meals. And I just think all of this, like all hands on deck, everybody divide and conquer and just block and tackle approach to this. Like, how do we just get people fed?
Yeah. I will tell you, just calling out Alyssa specifically, they've been great about we've been coordinating with them as well to talk about needs and what we, and this is really the time when we all come together.
I don't know if you guys know each other, but she's one of my dear friends, and you guys would have a love fest.
We do.
All of these people coming together is just an incredible part. It's like all bets are off. We're all in this together, going towards one goal, and that's feeding people. So anything we can do, I'm definitely going to give, of course, to FareStart. Anything that the community can do to help with the mission. So I'm
and we, it's we all win when we all win, right? And that's sort of my motto. That's my motto in life, right? Like, there's no need to drag each other down, because we all win.
1,000%. And when you're sitting on the sidelines and you're trying to figure out ways to help, I like to get close to people who are taking action, like you and like Alyssa and like, all the people involved with All in Seattle. Because you do feel a little bit helpless, like, okay, how can I do something? And it's not going to an auction and writing a check. It's like, I want people fit. It's like a today thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's great what you're doing. So I'm curious, given you don't present as stressed out, but you have a lot going on with the kids and business and trying to hold it all together. And how are you staying centered? And what are your kind of COVID tricks that you can teach us?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this last weekend, I could relax as much as you can with a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. So that's always really interesting.
Yeah.
I did deploy a new tactic this weekend, which is helping out. Any fighting results in the cleaning of a bathroom.
Oh.
So
that's a really good idea. I'm going to do that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So my bathrooms are all really clean.
Yeah.
So no, I am trying really hard to just stay with, working out a lot. That's sort of a thing that keeps me pretty grounded, is just making sure that I get out that frenetic energy.
Yes.
Getting up, this weather and getting some fresh air. I'm not often good about making sure I get to bed early, but I'm trying to get to bed a little bit early, and watching a bad TV or two shows.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm like, please say you're doing something like naughty and indulgent.
No, yes. I just finished a series, and so I'm looking for
Which one? We need good.
You.
Oh my God. Did you watch the whole thing?
Yes.
That's such a train wreck, but you just can't stop watching it, right?
And you're just like, oh. It's a little bit like Dexter, like you're cheering.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, he's a great actor. He does such a good job in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. I binged that one.
Yeah. So, and then the other, I think more people than not will be able to relate to this. In this whole thing, I adopted a puppy.
I want one. My husband's like, no, we're not getting a puppy. What kind of puppy did you get? Well, wait, I saw this on your, I feel like I saw that. What kind of puppy?
He's like I don't know. We think lab hound.
I saw this. Yeah.
Yeah. So DNA test is pending, but,
I so cute though. I did see pictures.
It's kind of nice. And, just the whole world just feels so uncertain. And there's this.
You need a puppy, of course.
I know.
And also my mentality about it, and my husband's not on the same page, but I was like, we're home. So we can be with the puppy and train the puppy right now. And it's a good time for us to set the tone.
Well, I had told
but we already have a dog that's outside right now. So she doesn't bark during our podcast. Yeah. So we don't need.
So I did tell the kids that we could get a puppy in the summer. So this is sped it up a little bit, but I would agree that, hopefully we'll be out doing fun things in the summer. So
we will. We for sure will. The weather's cooperating and we will for sure. And so I always ask this on the podcast as my last question. But ultimately, what fuels you? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I think for me, this is so cliche to say that my kids, but part of it is just knowing that I have the opportunity to leave a legacy that they would be really proud of, and that I will be really proud of at the end of the day, at the end of my life and the end of my career, that I can say that I did something that I feel really proud of. And, I think that the other thing, Russell Wilson has the Why Not You Foundation, but really my grandma Doris actually, that's actually her saying, well, if you're not going to do it, then who is? So
yes, I love that saying. It's if not me, then who?
Right. I mean, hers was also coupled with, so you should just stop whining about it and go do it.
I like her. School of Hard Knocks.
Yes.
She sounds pretty old school. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that that's really what gets me up every day, and just knowing that I have an opportunity to, to leave a legacy that will have a big impact on our community. And
you're doing it, and you're doing it for your kids for sure, especially with those cleaning the toilets. I like that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
little discipline and a little inspiration never hurts you.
Well, the funny thing is they thought it was I was really frustrated. And then I was like, this is what's going to happen. And they were like, oh God, she's really mad. And I'm like, you're going to go clean the bathrooms. And they thought it was hilarious.
They probably had fun because they're playing.
They actually did.
They got their bucket and their little
yeah. It was actually a perfect distraction.
Yeah. I think all of our kids could use a little toilet cleaning, right? It's good. Well, that's the good that's coming out of this. I'm playing a little bit hardcore right now. And then I'm also trying to let go of a lot that I would have otherwise not let go of, just because they're struggling, I'm sure too. Yeah. And it just helps to just be like, okay, I can be okay with a little mess. I can be okay with not, teaching them Chinese right now. I'm trying not to be super mom. Wow. That lasted a day.
My gosh.
I put together a whole schedule and that lasted 2 days.
Oh, so yeah, my kids are kind of feral. So, I mean, they're we went to the park yesterday and I was the mom who went back to the car with 2 kids who were mud head to toe.
Yeah. You got to be that way. You just have to let it go. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see you in person and give you, are we hugging? I'm a hugger. I'm not going to stop.
When this is over, we are hugging.
We are hugging.
Yes, I know. Well,
I know. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And thank you for all your amazing work with FareStart. I hope anybody who hears this donates. I'm super inspired. So yes.
Thank you.
Sending big kisses.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you for listening to the What Fuels You podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, and follow us on social media to keep up with the latest news and episodes. You can also contact us at podcast@fueltalent.com to provide feedback, ask questions, and share topics or guests you would like us to cover in the future. We hope you feel inspired by our guests and that we have helped fuel your day. Join us next time for another episode of What Fuels You.